Hi everybody, I'm Lisa from Flying Goat Farm and today is Thursday Threads. So here's what's happening on the farm today. It is the first Thursday of August and we had this hurricane come through here on Tuesday. We are all fine, nothing happened, it was cool. And in fact, it really helped Bill's garden because we hadn't had water for a while. We also got some pretty nasty storms here last night in the middle of the night, but just the typical summer time thunderstorms, really. Poncha, hi Laura. Poncha, some of you guys know my one of our guard dogs, livestock guardian dogs, is Poncha, big white furry thing. So I think it's been 6 weeks, and he had to have his knee worked on. And he's doing really, really well. Like in the past week, he's wanted to go on farther walks. Like he would probably want to go around the whole property, which would be over a mile. So he's really starting to feel a whole lot better. Hi there, Kathy. And you're from Saba in the Caribbean. So we're all jealous of you. I bet it's wonderful down there, yeah? And the other thing about him getting so much better is that he's now guarding us, which can be annoying. Just ask Karen of Avalon Springs Farm. So many times we've been chatting on the phone about, our Fiber Art Studio tour or various virtual shows that are coming up on the horizon, and the dogs all go off because, the UPS guy is here or something like that. And then he is a little bit learning disabled maybe because once he starts, he can never stop barking. We haven't figured out how to get him to do that. Ever since he's been little, like he will bark all night long, well after whatever the threat was to the sheep has already passed. We haven't been able to train him out of that. If you saw my Thursday Threads from last week, I was talking about a no rhinebeck sweater. Laura, I know you have knit a whole lot of sweaters. Since there's no rhinebeck this year, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't also do a sweater. And I forgot to show one last week, and I wanted to do that. This is the Swancho. This was at Rhinebeck Everywhere. So it's called a Swancho because it has a poncho kind of design or line, but then it has these cuffs so that you can push them up on your arms a little bit. And this has been knit with our Lively, which is our Cormo yarn, so it's really nice and squishy, and it's just lovely. And it's again, this was a little bit above my pay grade at the time, and so I actually had somebody else knit it for me. I think I could probably do it today, but at the time I was like, that looks a little bit too complex for me. Anyway, that's Swancho, and that's a readily available pattern on Ravelry. So in order for me to be accountable, I've been talking about what my no rhinebeck sweater is going to be. And this sweater has been a long time in the process. It started out as lamb fleece 3 years ago, and I hand spun it all up. It was white at the time, and then I sat here for the whole of last year because I couldn't decide, number one, what sweater I wanted to make, and number two, I couldn't figure out what colors I would want to make it. So I finally decided on this as the body and this as the color work. And I finally cast on. I'll show you what this pattern is. So this is from Knitty. I don't know how to say the name of it because it's in Icelandic. It's Ioun, I think. It's I-O-U-N-N. Ioun. That's what I think it is. Here's a picture of the designer wearing it. I probably won't make it as long. I like my sweaters shorter. So I think I will have it like right at my hip line, I think. Here's a picture, kind of a close-up of the color work. And I think I can do this. So I cast it on this morning, and so it's a top down, so this is going to be the collar, and I'm just starting the color work. Isn't that pretty? It's going to be really nice. So I have my no rhinebeck sweater in process. What are you guys going to be making? I'm interested to know. The other thing I thought I would tell you about, if you've been coming here regularly, is that I have these sock blanks, right? These knitted blanks. This was the very first one that I knit on a knitting machine. It was the very first one that I tried dyeing. And guess what? Do you see any socks attached? No! I finished it finally. I finished them. So here are my socks. Oops, let's put them both the right way. So this is how they turned out. I don't make pointy toes on mine because I have kind of Celtic feet. And so my feet kind of go straight across. So I give my toes plenty of room. I still have about 5 of these left, and I am offering a free e-course, or access to my e-course for free, with the purchase of one of the sock blanks or knitted blanks. So that is already in process, but it's a completely self-study, so you can start it at any time. You get access for 60 days, which should be plenty of time to knit a pair of socks. I'm ashamed to tell you this. I've also had these probably for 3 years. I kept just putting them away, just knitting them at a show, because I needed to tell people what in the world these things were, because people are very confused about sock blanks or knitted blanks. And so that was part of the reason why it took me so long to finish these. But then I thought, well, now I have the class up, so I can just direct people to that if they want to know how to do these. And so the class is for knitting 2 at a time from the cuff down. And if you want to learn about how to knit that way, you don't have to buy the sock blanks. You can just buy the course. So if you're interested in that, private message me. Okay. So the other thing that I wanted to tell you about, what I've been working on, and I think a lot of people have been working on this week. I think Karen talked about it in her program just about an hour ago. Kathy Withers was talking about it. I think we're all kind of gearing up, even though there aren't any shows, there are still virtual shows. So we're all gearing up to get new colorways, to get, our autumn collections together. And so I wanted to tell you a little bit about how I do that and show you some of the neat yarns that I came up with. I'm really excited about them. So what I do is that I use Pinterest. I used to go out and take photographs, a lot of photographs. We used to travel more. We haven't been out of our house for 6 months practically, right? So I do have, you will notice here, there are a lot of things that are in the green family, because that's basically a lot of what I'm seeing. So I take pictures that I find in Pinterest, and then I put them through a color finder. So basically it evaluates the photograph, and it tells you the top 5 colors. You can go in and change those colors too. So some of these I have changed around. And then all this scribble scrabble on the side that's me saying, oh, for that color, what dye am I going to use? Or what formulation am I going to use to get those colors? So basically, this is the beginning of a collection for me. And so then my next step was to go into the dye studio. And I've got a brand new dye studio. I'm so excited. I'll have to show you that one day. It's still a little bit too messy and not totally organized yet, so I'm a little bit embarrassed to show you that right now. But I go into the dye studio. I picked out I picked out these colors and started working on experiments. What I used this year was they're kind of like mill ends. So when I take my farm yarn to be made into yarn, when I take the roving from my farm yarn, lots of times there's like an oddball. There's something like this is an experimental thing for them to set their machines correctly. So it may be a little bit too heavy. And so it doesn't match the rest of the run. It might be too short, so it doesn't match the rest of the run. So I have a lot of these hanging around, and I thought, I'm going to use these as my experiments. And I'm really glad I did, because the colors just turned out so great. So I'll show you. This one I had it on Facebook and Instagram, but here's the picture, is like an apple. It's kind of like an apple harvest, right? You've got different colors of reds in there. You've got some like dusky greens, and then almost like a black. So this is the yarn that it came out to be. I've got two different reds in here. I've got this yummy, this is one of my favorite dyes, this kind of dusty, lichen-y kind of green. And then I have some espresso, so some brown in here. And the espresso has, I put a little bit of black in there to darken it up. And it is kind of split a little bit. So these skeins have about 200 to 220 yards in them. They're worsted weight. Look at how pretty that is. They're worsted weight. And I'm going to be I'm not going to put these into my shop, but I'm going to be selling these. So basically, if you're interested in getting one of these, you just have to private message me with like what color. This one's like Apple Harvest. They're $20 each. And like I said, like this one is this is probably like 250 yards in here. It's pretty hefty. This is plenty to make a hat. It's plenty to make mittens. And somebody asked me yesterday, well, that's pretty, but how does it knit up? And I've talked about this a lot. It really, really depends on your number of stitches and the size needle that you use. It could, if you were making something small, it could look like it's striping. If you're making something that's like a hat in the round, it could go into spirals. But it all depends on your needle size, the way that you hold stitches. Are you a tight knitter? Are you a loose knitter? And basically how many stitches around. But isn't that pretty? This is one of my favorites. So I'm making this now in my Chinook sock base, which is my merino cashmere. And that will be up in the shop probably next week. The second one I wanted to show you was this one. These leaves. And I love that pop of orange in there. And they've got some nice different colors of greens. And so that one came out like this. It is gorgeous. And again, this brown color kind of separated out into like a dusty gray in there. So I'll open this up. So you've got like beautiful oranges, ochre kind of colors, some greens, some kind of grayed out blues. And some neat different kinds of browns in there. And this one, I would just be like if you're interested in this one, it would be the autumn leaves. Again, $20. This one is I'm sure that this one is at least 200 yards. $20. This one, everybody really responded to this one when I posted this. And yeah, those flowers are like summertime flowers, right? But I think it's the mood of it is more fall to me. And so that one, yeah, that one came out like this. And this one is mohair yarn. This one, again, this is a pretty big, this probably has at least 150 yards in it. So you've got some lovely plums, some greens, some kind of chocolatey browns in there. Really pretty. And so that one would be like hollyhock. This one was funny because, so here's, I love this kind of, again, it's a moody piece. It's glass. There's some teal in there. There's some blue, some kind of grayed out blues in there. And it turned out really interesting because the green seemed to take over everything. So this one is like green and teal. It doesn't match the photograph at all. Like I would probably have to play with the dyes in here if I wanted to get closer to that picture. But I kind of like this. I like the avocado-y green and then like the tealy green together and like the blue in here. I mean, it's really, really pretty. If you're somebody that loves green and blue together like I am, this one is really beautiful. Yeah, it doesn't match the picture, but I like it anyway. And that one I would just call ballroom, if you were interested in that. And the last one that I have up here is, and these two pictures are kind of similar in a way. I mean, they have the similar kind of colors. The yarn that I came up with really matches the tree picture more. This again is the mohair. And so we've got some nice like grayed out blues and browns in there. This would be really nice for like a hat or mittens, something like that. You wouldn't want this around your neck. It's mohair. It's a little bit too scratchy for that. But for mittens, it would be awesome. Lightweight, but very warm. And the other one. So this one, even though it's similar to the colors in here, I thought that there was like a, wait, that's not right. It's this one here in the center. So these kind of leaves, so you got some plum and some green and some ochre in there. And so what I used was like some avocado, some plummy kind of colors, and a red. And I got something that, again, doesn't really match the photo very well. But again, it is gorgeous. I'm really liking it. I'm really liking these grayed out blues moving into like tealy greens. And then moving into delicious plums. I love that where where they come together and they kind of fade into each other. And delicious plummy plums there at the end. So this one, I think we should just call it Plummy Plums because that's what I like. Again, if you want any of these, they're not going to be listed on the website. You can send me a private message on Messenger. You can send me an email on my website, flamingofarm.com. just let me know what you want. I will send you a PayPal invoice. And so again, they're $20 with $8 shipping. All right. So I think that is it. I don't see anybody that has a question. Does anybody have a question for me today? Again, if you have questions, send, private message me. We're here every Thursday at 1:00. If I know that you're interested in a topic, I certainly can talk about it. I've been a teacher for a really long time. Currently, I'm a retired teacher, but you never can get the teacher out of you. So I'm really happy to provide some instruction or to give you what my thoughts would be about certain topics. So until we see you again next week, I'll just say happy making.